For almost a century, Arabs and Jews have argued and fought wars over Palestine. One part of people lived here for centuries, while the other part was unjustly expelled and endured persecution for many centuries. And the bloody events of the October in 2023 are putting the world on the brink of a Third World War. A situation in which two sides have been arguing for decades about who is the victim and who is the aggressor and oppressor often seems intractable. Questions sometimes arise as to whether it was worth creating a Jewish state in Palestine at all. And this question is not new. A Jewish state could arise not only in the Middle East, but also in Far East, Africa, America, and even Australia. My name is Nick, and today I will tell you about 5 main projects that were planned as an alternative to modern Israel. Please subscribe to my channel right now and let's get started. So let's go. Project number 1. The most exotic, Australia. In the late 1930s, as it became clear that Jews were in danger in Europe and Britain was imposing restrictions on Jewish immigration to Palestine, a variety of alternative plans were developed to resettle Jews. One such plan was known as the Kimberley Plan. This plan envisaged the creation of a Jewish colony in the northern part of Australia, in the region of modern Cape River National Park. The initiator of this plan was the organization Free Soil League, led by Isaac Steinberg. In early 1939, the Free Soil League bought 16,000 square kilometers of land in northwestern Australia for local farmers. The plan was to initially settle 75,000 Jews from Europe in this territory, which was uninhabited and largely unused. This decision was motivated in part by the need to provide security for Jewish migrants, while also providing the prospects of creating an agriculture and transport center. Further plans were to resettle 1 million Jews to this region. However, although regional authorities in the province of Western Australia approved the plan, the Australian government didn't accept it. Australian Prime Minister John Curtin argued that the creation of a Jewish colony on Australian territory was unacceptable. Since this, in his opinion, would mean dividing society and creating an enclave for people with an alien culture. The Kimberley Plan was officially rejected by the Australian government in July in 1944. And after the end of Second World War, the creation of a Jewish state of Israel in Palestine became a major priority for the Jewish people. And also, I would like to remind you that especially for you, I created a series of 365 gift illustrated books, each of which tells about the events, holidays, and people of one specific day. This is the best birthday gift. Check it out in the link in the description. Project number 2. The most unpopular, United States of America. In the early 19th century, Mordecai Emanuel Noah, a Jewish journalist and politician, proposed the concept of creating a Jewish state on the island of Grand Island, which lies in the Niagara River, near the famous fault and on the border of the United States and Canada. He believed that Jews needed their own territory where they could escape anti-Semitism and live freely. In 1825, on the border of the United States and Canada, the first stone was solemnly laid for the future city of Ararat, which was to become a refuge for Jews. Noah named the city in honor of Mount Ararat, on which, according to biblical legend, Noah's Ark landed. According to his plan, Grand Island was to become sovereign Jewish territory. However, Noah's idea didn't receive widespread support either in the Jewish community or among European Jews. At that time, most Jews in Europe had already received civil rights and didn't experience widespread persecution. The idea of creating their own state for Jews on Grand Island remained unrealized. Today, Grand Island is inhabited by ordinary Americans, and the idea of creating a new Israel on this island hasn't come to fruition. The original symbol of this idea, the Iron Stone, is located in the Museum of Jewish History in Philadelphia, as a reminder of the pipe dream of Marduk Emmanuel Noah. Project number 3, the most racist, Madagascar. The idea of creating a Jewish state aroused interest not only among Jews. One striking example of alternative plans was the so-called Madagascar Plan. This plan involved the resettlement of all Jews from Europe to the island of Madagascar, located in the Indian Ocean. The idea of eviction of Jews far beyond the borders of Europe was expressed in 1878 by the German Orientalist and one of the creators of racial theory, Paul Delagarde. This plan was first considered in practice in the 1920s after the First World War. At this time, Europe was overwhelmed by waves of refugees, including Jews who were trying to escape the consequences of wars, revolutions, and national conflicts. As a result, the Jewish population in Europe faced serious problems. Poland was one of the countries where Jews made up a significant part of the population. In 1926, the Polish ambassador to France, Count Ślopowski, approached the French authorities with a proposal to begin the resettlement of Polish Jews to Madagascar. It was planned to start with 50,000–60,000 people and gradually resettle all 3 million Polish Jews there. Some Jewish community leaders supported the idea in hopes of avoiding anti-Semitic pogroms. Plans to evict Jews to Madagascar were also discussed in Romania and Germany. In 1933, Octavian Goga, head of the Romanian Ministry of Internal Affairs, announced the need to resettle 500,000 Romanian Jews to the island. Even Adolf Hitler himself argued that the solution to the Jewish question was to relocate all the Jews of Germany, Poland, Hungary, and Romania to some kind of colony, presumably in Madagascar. Despite these discussions, the Madagascar plan wasn't implemented until the outbreak of Second World War. Even after France committed the handing over the island to Germany in 1940, practical difficulties and military events meant that the plan was shelved. Project 4, the most controversial, Uganda. In 1903, the Uganda Plan arose, proposed by Joseph Chamberlain, Secretary of State for the colonies of the British Empire. This plan was proposed as an alternative to the idea of creating a Jewish state in Palestine, since the Ottoman Empire, which controlled Palestine, couldn't accept large numbers of Jewish immigrants. Instead of Palestine, Chamberlain proposed that the district of Wazin-Jew in what is now Kenya be set aside to create a self-governing Jewish territory. This territory was named Uganda only because the Ugandan Railway passed through it. The reason for the proposal was the anti-Semitic pogrom in Chisinau in April of 1903, as a result of which many Jews were killed and injured. There was a need to find a new place for Russian Jews. Chamberlain's proposal was supported by leaders of the Zionist movement, including Theodor Herzl. However, many Zionists opposed this plan, considering it a threat to the concept of creating a Jewish state in Palestine. The debate between supporters and opponents of the Uganda plan was so intense that it actually split the Zionist movement. At the 1905 Zionist Congress, a majority of delegates voted against this plan. However, supporters of the idea of creating Jewish territory in Africa broke away from the Zionists and created their own territorialist movement. This movement attempted to implement the idea of creating a Jewish territory in Africa or elsewhere, but was ultimately unsuccessful and gradually lost influence. Project 5, the most implemented, Soviet Union. In 1928, the Soviet Union created the Jewish Autonomous Region in the Far East, near the Amur River on the border with China. This project was intended as an alternative national refuge for the Jewish people inside the Soviet Union. As part of this initiative, the Soviet authorities allocated a large area of approximately 36,000 square kilometers for Jewish autonomy. Despite these promises and hopes, this project faced several serious problems and difficulties. One of them is demographic factors. The resettlement of Jews to the Far East wasn't massive. About 130,000 people arrived in the 1930s, but only a fraction of them remained in the region. Due to the lack of large numbers of newcomers, the population of this area remained small and Jewish autonomy didn't attract large numbers of Jews. Economic difficulties. Birobidzhan, the capital of the Jewish Autonomous Region, and its surroundings were particularly uninhabited before the arrival of Jewish colonists. This place was a wilderness with a harsh climate. The Jewish colonists, most city dwellers, faced the difficulties of farming and building infrastructure. Ideological and cultural problems. The Soviet leadership insisted that Jews moving to the Jewish Autonomous Region must renounce religion and become atheist. Public practice of Jewish religious practices was limited, and the first synagogue in Birobidzhan was opened only in 1947. The use of Soviet Yiddish, a new language created from the Wallon dialect, also created cultural divisions. Remoteness and isolation. The Jewish Autonomous Region was removed from the main population centers of the USSR, and life there remained difficult and isolated. This was especially noticeable during the harsh winter months. As time passed, most Jews living in the Jewish Autonomous Region chose to emigrate to Israel, which gained independence after the Second World War. This process, together with other factors, led to a decrease in the Jewish population in the Jewish Autonomous Region. The Jewish Autonomous Region still exists in modern Russia, but the number of Jews living there is less than 1%, and the region as a whole remains one of the most sparsely populated and economically backward. And that's all for today. What were you interested in? Write it in the comments below. Which of the projects you thought was the most interesting? And I say goodbye to you. And as always, stay curious and stay informed. Bye!